Well, it doesn't keep bouncing back on the screen, so. Can you hear us, Missy?
Yes.
Good. Good morning. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Carol. Welcome. It's 10 o'clock, and we're here at the Positive Living Center, choosing to be here. It's our choice. We're here because we want to be. Today is March 13th, 2022. I don't see any new guests, but if there are some, let me know. And I see a few people still walking in. We'd like to welcome you, and it is our joy to have this gathering of people who care deeply about many levels of consciousness. The theme for this month is focus for physical health, cheerfulness for mental health, and hope for spiritual well-being. And as soon as Barney comes through that door and sits down, we're going to have John Lalonde and Brenda Negley and myself start with a meditation. And this is a special meditation. We're using crystal bowls, John's beautiful flutes, and they've been practicing this for a while. So get yourself settled, close your eyes, open your heart, take a deep breath, and enjoy this meditation.
So Judy will be starting us off with a heartbeat on the other drum. And then Brenda will come in on this crystal bowl. And Brenda is a sound healer in town here and also conducts meditation with these crystal singing bowls. So she'll start with that, and then I'll play the flute, and I'll stop playing flute, and we'll just listen to the bowl and just see how long it goes. It goes much longer than you might think. So.
Oh, it's so small. Oh, do you want it the other way? Yeah.
peace, clarity, harmony, balance, good health, joy are all yours. As we come back into our bodies, we are grateful. We are enriched by each other's company. And so it is. Thank you both so much. It's lovely. So with a nod of your head, did you enjoy that? Yeah, pretty wonderful. Thank you both. Today, our spiritual thought is given to us by Joe Bull. And we'll give him a hand, welcome him.
Thank you. Good morning.
Put you here.
Oh, for the giant guy. Good?
Good.
Can you hear me okay? That's too bad. Okay. I wanted to share my thoughts on spiritual health, that being the word hope. In my life around 24 to 28 years old, I had never given much credence to the word hope. Hope was a word to me that held nothing good or bad. It was just kind of a neutral word feeling to me. I used to say, I hope I don't get sick. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope that this does happen for me. And never saw any results from using that word in that way. The regular dictionary defines the word hope as a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. Well, it didn't happen that way for me with hope. So I gave up hope. At that time in my life on this planet, hope felt like a plea to God for something not to happen for me. This is long before I got to discover New Thought and in these spiritual practices that I am now involved in. I was a young man at that time, like I said, and I was working the night shift as a patrol officer. I worked every night till about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got briefed and I went out and logged onto my car, my patrol car, and I was dispatched to a report of a domestic violence incident. A second officer was also sent to assist me. It's a very dangerous type of call for officers to go to. So I got there, and I before my other officer showed up, and I heard a woman screaming inside the house. So I decided just to go on in, and which I did. And then the guy that was in the house decided that he wanted to fight with me, and so we had that going on. Then my partner showed up. And we were able to get him detained and find out just what was going on. So I got through with all that, took him to jail, and I thought, man, is this the way my whole night's going to go? I hope not. I hope not. So I finished that, was writing my report, and I got another call. And guess what? Another domestic violence incident, back to back. So I went to that one with another officer who showed up to help me. Same type deal. The guy was mad that we were even in his house, and he fought with us. We were able to get him detained and in custody, and he eventually ended up going to jail as well. And I was thinking, you know, this is the way my whole night's going to go. It's hopeless. Then I got a call of a woman reporting that her husband was missing from home because he went out to walk the family dog. This is about 10:15 at night. and he was overdue to get back home. So she told me that his name was Harry. And he took the dog for a walk, but he was also suffering with dementia. I said, okay. So I got a description of him and all that. And I told him to stay home by the phone and call us if he happens to show up while I'm out looking for him. So I went out and I driving around, looking around. About 8 minutes later, I saw this gentleman walking a dog. I go, that's got to be Harry. So I pulled up and I got out of the car and I said, Harry, I'm Officer Bull, the sheriff's office. He goes, yes. I said, hey, your wife called and said she wanted you to get home because it's getting late. He goes, oh yeah, I guess I better get going. And I could tell he had no idea where he was. He was looking up and down the street and I had no idea. I said, hey, Harry, how about if I just give you a ride home? Maybe easier. He goes, oh, that's great. So he got a patrol car with me and I was talking to him and his dog and got him back home. And he got out of the car and his wife went outside and gave him a hug, took him indoors. And I said goodnight to her from where I was standing. And I started walking toward my car. And she goes, officer, hang on a second. So I turned and she came over to me and she hit me with the biggest hug I've ever had. That's exactly what I needed at that very moment. Some glimmer of hope that I was doing something right for somebody. She hugged me and she kissed me on my cheek and she says, I hope you realize that what you do is very important. I said, wow, that's great. I looked up hope again in the dictionary, not dictionary, but online a few days ago. And this is the spiritual context that I found. Hope means believing good things will happen with faith with a higher power. Yeah, and so it is. Thank you.
Here. Thank you, Joe Ball. That reminded me of my brother. Yeah, he was at LAPD, and the things that he would come home and talk about. It, the whole idea of protect and to serve is part of what I admire about the people that give from themselves. And then we end up having to decide what's important, our mental health. My brother went and became a ranger after retiring. So we all have that decision, don't we? Our hope. Yes, thank you so much. We have music. I think that John Malone will be here, gracing us again with his beautiful music.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Well, just a couple of remarks in introduction that those of us who attend the spiritual discussion group on Zoom with Bob Hand often accuse him of using us to prepare his talk. So in full disclosure, I want to just say that I too use that spiritual discussion group to try out different things that I'm working on. This is a song I've been working on since a few months anyway. And yesterday I realized I have no name for this song yet. And I thought I would name it Red Barn, and all will be revealed.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is our Hand of God, Bob Hand. Welcome.
Am I viewed?
Oh, not at all. You're
Okay.
much taller than I know. Yeah. You're not getting this little foot still.
Okay, well, thank you all for being here. I have to say, John, I'm a little shocked that you would do that. I mean, he gave my whole talk already, was all in that song. But for those of you who don't necessarily understand music, I'll go ahead and give the talk anyway.
Bob, before you start, can you put the screen down a little bit so the top of your head isn't cut off for the video?
Well, they're working on that.
We're
How are we
working on
doing?
that.
The top of my head is not the
Here,
best part of me anyway, so
Okay,
You're
that's,
just shorter than your hair.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
that's perfect. That's perfect.
you're not going to miss anything there. Okay, so I was going to talk about cheerfully being hopeful, but instead I thought I would focus on focus. And maybe you all will focus on me focusing on focus. We'll see. But focus is not an energy, but focus is important for all energy. It is a multiplier for energy. When you focus energy, suddenly it has much more power. Where Gene and I live, when I first got a riding lawnmower the first time, I drove it around and periodically there was this terrible crunching sound. And the blades were hitting these rocks that were sticking up. And I got out the shovel to try to dig them out, but these weren't little rocks. These were big rocks that were just sticking out a little bit. So I got my trusty sledgehammer. I don't actually know why I have a sledgehammer, but I do have one. And I took it and I would just hit it as hard as I could and really didn't make any progress on those rocks. And so I went and bought a pick. And with a pick, it was very easy. I hit them, the rocks broke right off. It was simple. Now, I wasn't using any more energy, but for those of you who know, a sledgehammer has a face on it, I don't know, maybe 4 square inches. And a pick comes to a point, maybe 1 inch. So I was getting 4 times the energy in one spot using a pick over a sledgehammer. And that's what magnifying that energy does. That's what focusing that energy. So if you take a piece of paper and you set it out in the sun, it really doesn't matter how hot the day is, it's not going to do much. If you leave it out there for hours, who knows, maybe it'll dry up and curl some, but it's not going to change. The sunlight will not affect that paper all that much. But if you take a magnifying glass and you line it up with the sun and you focus it on that paper, you can start it on fire within seconds. There's no more energy involved. There's the same amount of energy of the sun rays, but when you focus them, they have much more power. And the way we focus is through intent. Our intent is our magnifying glass. That's what we use in our spiritual endeavors. And of course, all of our endeavors are spiritual endeavors because we're spiritual beings here. But you know, magnifying glasses don't always work. If you don't have it at the right height, if you don't have it focused correctly, it's not going to focus that energy. It'll still be spread out and won't do any good. And in our intent, if we think that we're going to focus on one thing, but actually we're kind of having a general focus, we won't focus our spiritual energy. And even worse with a magnifying glass, if you take it and move it around, because you can't decide exactly where you want that light focus, then it's not going to have any effect. And in our intent, if we keep jumping it around to different ideas, it's not going to focus our spiritual energy. And yet the world is actually designed to almost force us to do that. We are so interconnected in the world that it's very difficult for us to focus our intent. The whole world is so interconnected that most barns are painted red because stars explode. We live in a strange world. It's very hard for us to focus. And so people have developed methods to help us focus. And in martial arts, in karate, taekwondo, one of those methods that people came up with is to practice your technique under either like a small waterfall or out in freezing rain. Because what that does is it makes you turn off all of these other things going on that are trying to get your attention, this cold water coming down on you, and instead make yourself focus just on your technique. Now, when I was younger and maybe not quite as wise as I am, I used to go out at night in freezing rain and practice those techniques. And I'll tell you, it does help your focus. It also has a side benefit to get you to cough and sneeze more. You don't have to do any other work. You get that on there. But there are lots of those techniques. Spiritually, we have a lot of techniques to help us focus. We have meditation. We have labyrinths. We have sweat lodges, Tai Chi. These are all things designed to consciously turn off all of this interconnectedness. And so instead, we can focus our spiritual energy on one thing. In Zen archery, they teach you to become the target. That doesn't mean shoot yourself in the foot with the arrow. It means, of course, to make your consciousness, your connection to that target so strong, your recognition, you actually spiritually are becoming the target so that the arrow that's with you will be right at that target. And that's so difficult to do. I mean, to do it well is considered a huge accomplishment because the world is designed so that we don't do that very much. We are so interconnected that that's very difficult to do. We're so interconnected, as I said, that barns are painted red because stars explode. Now, if you ask people who know about painting barns, why are most barns painted red? Well, it's a fairly simple answer. As people, as human beings, we tend to focus on ourselves. Our reasons are all about us. So as our country developed and people, farmers, of course, were mostly what was around, they had these buildings that were strictly for their farm animals. Didn't want to make them fancy. Wanted to put their farm in it, but they didn't want the wood to rot, so they wanted to paint it. So what do you paint it with? The cheapest paint you have. What's the cheapest paint? In the basic paints, red. They're going to tell you barns are painted red because it's the cheapest paint. Why is red the cheapest paint? Because the old basic reds were made from red clay. Red clay is very abundant. So red paint was cheap. But why is red clay so abundant? Well, most of you have heard me before, taken my classes on science. I'm sure you know all of this. Stars start with hydrogen. The simplest atom, one protein, one electron, that's what stars are originally made from. Stars then burn. Of course, they don't really burn, they fuse, nuclear fusion. And this fusion creates helium, a little bit bigger. The helium fuses, this is all very simplified, making carbon. That process continues. Magnesium, nickel, potassium, oxygen. And one of the things that's made in abundance is iron. But stars are designed, the way they work, if you will, is that this fusion energy goes out, that's why they shine, and it pushes the star out. That's why the suns are so big, stars are so big. But gravity pulls it in. So the star's in this constant tension. As you get heavier and heavier atoms inside, the fusion slows down. Less force going out, more gravity effect coming in. The stars shrink and shrink and shrink. If it wasn't a very big star to begin with, if it didn't have a lot of material, it just comes in and sort of dies. It's like a big chunk of coal. It's called a red dwarf. But if there's enough material in that star, when that gravity pulls it and pulls it in, it creates so much pressure inside, the fusion starts up again and the star explodes. And it throws these atoms all over the place. And gravity pulls most of them back in to make another star like our sun, sort of a second tier star. And the rest of that material is left out there. And of course, the lighter material goes further out and makes planets like Jupiter and Uranus and those. The heavier material doesn't get as far out, so that the planets closer to the star have a lot more of the heavier material, like iron. Because of the way those stars are created and develop, and because they explode, there's more iron on Earth, therefore more red clay, therefore red barns. That is how interconnected our existence is. And so when we're trying to focus, we have to deal with that. And when any of us can do treatments, by the way, not just practitioners and ministers, any of us can do spiritual mind treatment. And when you do that, you need to see, if you can, some people can do it, you have that focus, but you're also the witness. You also see yourself. You also see your focus, and you start out right on what you want. You know, I want this new job, and that's where my focus is. That's where my intent is. But you can catch yourself sometime going, well, you know what, but my shoulder hurts, so I'm going to slip that in there too. And my cousin isn't feeling well, so I'll put that in my treatment. And, you know, the climate's all bad. I'm going to put that in my, and how about divine love for everybody? And pretty soon, we've lost our focus. And so we can do these techniques. We can do meditation. We can do the labyrinths, the Tai Chi, the sweat lodge, to help us learn to focus our spiritual energy. And when we want something specific, that's a reasonable way to work on getting it, is learning to focus, to use our intent to focus our spiritual energy. And over the years, Angie and I have discussed this kind of thing a lot, about how do we use our spiritual energy to affect our lives. But you know, in our discussions, we discuss other parts too, where focus doesn't seem to happen that way because of the way the universe is. I talked about the red barns, And, you know, we can follow that through. We can follow that process through. But the interconnectivity is so in place and yet so beyond us at times, it's hard to figure it out. One of the mysteries, big mysteries in the world, well, Gene, many of you know, Gene works for the Census Bureau. That's not a mystery. But they give her a laptop. They give her, and it has these programs, these softwares that are weird and do all kinds of things. And she works with them fine, but periodically one of them doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And she tries various things. And then she'll, you know, turn off the computer and reboot it. And if it really goes on and she can't get it to work, she asks me to come in to help. Now, Gene knows more about this than I do. I can assure you, I'm not a computer expert. But on at least 4 different occasions, she's asked me to come in. I come in, I stand there a few seconds and I look at the computer. I'm attempting to look wise, like I have some idea of what I'm doing and what's going on. And then I'll say to her, well, show me how it's supposed to work. And she says, okay, here, and it works. And she said, how did you do that? And you know what? I didn't come in with some special magical aura coming. I have problems with my computer all of the time. But something happened, some kind of connection. I mean, if it happened once, you wouldn't think about it, but several times, some kind of connection between that software, that computer, Gene and myself, and it worked. Because we are so interconnected with the universe beyond our comprehension. So one of the things Angie and I talked about also in affecting our lives is to just be. That instead of the Zen archery of focusing on one target, instead focus on being unfocused. The Tao Te Ching says, reaching from the mystery into the deeper mystery is the gate to the secret of life. Reaching from the mystery into the deeper mystery is the gate to the secret of life. And we can do that. All of us, we can use our intent to focus on one thing, that's legitimate, but we can also become the interconnectedness of the universe. We can pass through that gate into that deeper mystery, and we can become the connection we have with all things. And you know what? If enough of us do this, if enough of us actually become the connectiveness of the universe, then that connection between people just might spread to others. And if it spreads to enough people and enough people recognize that we are all one, then just maybe we'll stop being afraid of each other. Maybe we'll stop hating, we'll stop killing, and we'll all know the oneness of divine love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Did you get that? Yes. That was wonderful, Bob Hand. Thank you for your wisdom. Next week, we have a healing circle. And that healing circle is for everyone. You don't have to have an illness You can have an opportunity you want to change and shift and move. So just a reminder for next week. I'd like to have a couple of volunteers for our devotion. And at the front door, under a rock that says grace, there was a $20 bill tucked under there. And I'd like to thank whoever did that with such a sweet gesture. So universe is always sending us information. We want to thank you for your financial support, because that's what the Positive Living Center is run upon. It's all through the grace of your giving hearts, and we appreciate that so much. This helps us to transform the Positive Living Center and the community for the grace that we can give outward. Thank you. So say with me, thank you, Brenda. Be half my head. The offertory statement. Divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. Thank you. And I know that Missy has information for those who are on Zoom that she can share through the chat. And that's all the information that has to do with how they donate and send money. We're here. And there's the PLC iFocus that LJ diligently works on every week. And thank you for doing that. It helps us to be able to realize that today was daylight savings change, and just know that you can check in on the iFocus with check in for phone numbers and information. Call us. Now, are there any announcements? Dun, dun, dun. And
Is that you, handy dandy?
yes,
Thank you.
I'll let you turn it on.
Okay.
This is a donation from Missy, unless that's your announcement.
You just took away my announcement. Can you hear me on this? No?
No.
How about now? Is that better?
Is the boat still on?
Everything should be on.
We can hear you.
Missy
Yes.
can hear you.
Missy can hear me.
On here.
I'm not sure why you can't hear. Anyway, yes, Reverend Missy, thank you for the purchase of this for the church. It was very kind of you to do that. This, yeah, just give her some love for that. I just put it together yesterday, came down here and put it together and turned it on, and it was actually working, so that was kind of scary for me too. But it also comes with some other wireless type of setup, so it's a great gift to the church. And I'd like to turn this over to anyone else who might have an announcement. Anybody else?
Joe Nelson should talk about his.
Joe, you want to make an announcement? No, but I will.
Yeah, I don't need a microphone.
That's true.
directly after the service at 11 o'clock, we're gonna have a little ceremony for Marilyn planted a tree out here, and John's gonna play us a tune on the flute, and it's just gonna be kind of brief and informal, but everybody's invited to join us.
Very nice. Thank you, Joe. Yes, honoring Marilyn. Thank you. Anybody else?
We're rather quiet today.
You have it on?
I was trying to turn it off. I guess
We have to learn about our new equipment here. It's been a continual progression of evolution where we have a new computer now, and it took us what, 10 minutes to set up instead of a half an hour. That's pretty good. So all that effort goes towards making this a collaboration of goodness for everyone's sake. And we really appreciate all that intention and focus, as Bob would say. If you know anyone that has been away from the PLC or would maybe like to come and visit, bring them along next time, next Sunday. I was at the grocery store and I ran into a lovely woman. She said, "Oh, I had no idea you're back." And she says, I said, "Join us on Zoom." She's real shy. And she says, "Thank you, thank you." So there are times when we think people know something. So it's good to bring it up that the PLC's doors are open. It's nice. And John Stanley did something that I thought was really lovely. There has been a pile of railroad ties underneath a tree for quite a long time. And he moved those last week. Thank you, John. He laid them out along the other side. So now it looks like a border for a garden that could be coming sometime soon. And I wanted to ask John Lalonde, he mentioned that there's going to be a biodiverse gift or connection through the Rotary. So would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really in the early phases, but the local Rotary that Susan Madden started, a satellite Rotary that is focused on environmental issues. It's a specific Zoom sort of Rotary meeting. They have one of the Rotary projects, which I didn't really know much about Rotary, but it's an international group. One of the projects is to plant pollinator gardens. And so that is something that will attract bees and bugs and bats and birds. And it's a program that is trying to get people and organizations to commit some space on their property to pollinator plants. So it's in the early phases. There's going to be a big installment of it at the Fresno Flats, but there's also going to be reaching out to other groups in the community to focus on that in their planting. So the requirements are very simple. Just plant a plant that attracts, pollinators, but you can get bigger than that. So more to follow on that as I actually learn more as the program gets developed, hopefully in the next month or two.
Thank you, John. We reach out into the community when we plant flowers, when we have sunflowers, and when we have fruits, vegetables growing. It helps everyone. Thank you, John. If you have a need for prayer treatment, our practitioner for the day is Joe Bull, right? Yes. So you can go into the little room and have a time, a space, some moments to help gather clarity. If that's not possible, because we'll probably all be rushing out to go to Marilyn's memorial, there's a little frog box in the back, and you can write down your request, and that Joe Bull will send it to all the ministers and practitioners so that we can help work on that collectively. And as Bob Hen says, you know, it's that collective energy that shifts and changes everything. When we work together, that moves the world. And we're part of that movement. Every person here is important. Every person's thoughts are here to change and shift any discord around them. And we are grateful. Next week's, come on up, Joe. Come on.
Mentioned, on the table back here, there's a few photos of Marilyn and two of her spirit dolls.
Yes.
She put a lot of love and effort into those that she made from scratch. So just so you know, when you look at them, and I just got a text from her daughter-in-law, and they're running a little bit late, so we don't have to run out there right now.
Okay, good. Good. Yes, Marilyn is very, very creative, and do admire the photographs and her spirit dolls on the table, because she always put a lot of love in the things that she was involved with, whether it was her creativity or her animals or her home. It's beautiful. So I'm gonna, Kim, are you around? She's supposed to be our teacher, our speaker next week. Let's see. There you are. Okay, good. Good. And now's the time for our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The presence of God watches over me. The energy of God is me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. As we close, I'd like to ask Sandy West to come up and say our final prayer.
I just want to thank you, Jenny, for a great day
Oh,
and some wise thoughts. She's a very wise woman. As we go into the silence, allow everything that you heard today and all of the music to flow into your heart. Allow it to enhance your heart as it continues to open and spread with love overflowing, going out to everyone and everything. It's a beautiful day today, and we get to honor one who was a part of us for so long. Family is important, and we know that here. Our spiritual family is everything to all of us. So as we go forth today, take that heart with you. Let it shine out of your eyes and smile at everyone you see. Let it touch a tree, bless a flower. Know that the world is important because we're in it. That all of us together make a world family. And as we come together more and more, and our hearts open more and more, the peace that we've been asking for is here now, birthing now, opening now, emerging now. I am so grateful for the giftings that continue to flow towards us. Allow yourself to accept them and give thanks for them. For gratitude is important. As you allow all of this to happen today, know this truth. God is, we are all one. And say with me, please, and so it is.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone, for being here today together as we move out into this world. And we see you next weekend. Thank you.